Alright, hey guys, and welcome to my top 10 PlayStation Vita games of 2012. I have to say I'm very glad that I picked up a Vita this year. There were a ton of great games that came out for it. A lot of great launch games, what I believe to be one of the best launch lineups for a console ever. They had a lot of great games, a lot of diverse games that came out on launch and on the launch window. The rest of the year, the releases were a bit slow, but you know, Sony is slowly picking up momentum with its big blockbuster releases. But what do you say we get started with my top 10 personal favorite PlayStation Vita games that I played this year. First up is what I'd consider to be one of the hidden gems on the Vita library. It was a launch game and it was put out by Square Enix, and that is Army Corps of Hell. Now, the best way I can describe this game is if you take a cross between the gameplay of Pikmin, a little bits of elements of Monster Hunter in terms of wandering the game world and gathering materials to craft new items, and say the art style of a Dark Souls or Darksiders type game in terms of character design. Take that and you pair it with some full-on heavy metal, like hardcore death metal music, mix them all together, and that's what you get with Army Corps of Hell. It's very arcadey, it's fun, it's very simple. I mean, you can see everything there is to do in the game in about the first hour, but I kept coming back to it. There was just something simple, fun, and addictive about just sending all of my goblin armies onto these big monsters and having them blow up into big chunks of gore, all while having some crazy heavy metal, power metal music in the background. I really enjoyed this game. Next is an import exclusive, at least so far, unless Sega decides to bring out this game to America in the future, and that is Hatsune Miku Project Diva F. Now, this is my first title that I've played in the Hatsune Miku series. It's a very popular music rhythm game franchise in Japan, and I have to say I was pleasantly surprised. I heard so many good things about the series, so I decided to import a copy for myself, and I was not disappointed. It's very simple. You barely even use the touchscreen on the Vita. It's mostly all the face buttons, just hitting the notes as they come, to some really, you know, weird Vocaloid music that I have to say was quite catchy at times. It's got dancing characters all over the place, it's got Japanese written all over it, but I have to say it was catchy, it was fun, it was addicting, and just the right amount of challenge. I highly recommend Hatsune Miku to any fans of the music rhythm genre. Next up is the swan song to one of my favorite developers of this generation, and I had a lot of fun enjoying their SOCOM series over the years. And that game is from Zipper Interactive, and it's known as Unit 13. Unfortunately, Zipper Interactive disbanded earlier this year, and they won't be making any more games, but I have to say they went out on a high note. Unit 13 offers up some really arcade-feeling third-person shooting gameplay. It's basically if you take the best elements of the single-player portions of SOCOM, and then you add in a sort of really interactive and unique online interface where there's daily challenge missions, there's two-player online co-op with built-in voice chat. It's very cooperative based, so you're going to be tackling these missions with a friend, you know, infiltrating these bases, taking out guys. It's all point-based. Everything feels really good when you combo a kill together and everybody blows up and you get a huge point bonus. It's a lot of fun. Definitely check it out if you're a fan of third-person shooters. And coming in at number 7 is an excellent racer known as Wipeout 2048. If there's one thing I can say about the Wipeout series, it's that it just feels right. The controls are perfect. It's very challenging, but when you're driving on these futuristic courses, you know, miles high in the sky on your floating hovercraft, the controls are very tight, they're very weighty, everything just looks amazing. The visuals in this game, when you're speeding down, you know, super fast, the frame rate holds up, it looks excellent, you got that techno soundtrack in the background. I mean, 8-player online play, you can't really ask for anything more than Wipeout 2048 if you're looking for a futuristic racing game on the Vita. Coming in at number 6 is one of the few RPGs available for the PlayStation Vita, and that is Ragnarok Odyssey. Now, this is a game that I'd highly recommend for any of you out there that are fans of the Monster Hunter or Phantasy Star Online type cooperative multiplayer online action RPGs. Just think of it like you go into these closed arenas, it's quite repetitive, you repeat levels quite a bit, but you go in, you tackle bosses together cooperatively with up to 4 players online, including yourself. You get materials, you craft new weapons, new armor, you get rare drops, you upgrade your equipment, all the while you do it in this fantastic fantasy setting. The graphics in Ragnarok Odyssey are downright beautiful. And as the game progresses, the bosses get larger and larger and larger to the point where you're literally scaling up like a 50-floor building to fight some of these enemies in the game. It's very impressive, it's a lot of fun. It's not perfect, but it's definitely, you know, something to fill the tastes of RPG fans on the Vita. And coming in at number 5 is one of my favorite puzzle series out there, and that is Lumines Electronic Symphony. This version is exclusive to the Vita, and it adds a lot of new songs and backgrounds, and it's great that they did away with what was wrong with Lumines 2 in terms of, you know, music videos in the background that nobody cared about. That's all gone in Electronic Symphony. It's a return to the greatness that, you know, Lumines Live was and Lumines 1 was on the PSP. There's something very addictive about this series that melts sort of that synesthesia aspect of every little action you do in the puzzle game itself interacts with the music and the sound effects, and it's the kind of game where you can just zone out and play it for an hour or more, no problem. Unfortunately, they added in some very unnecessary touch controls to the back panel, but if you look past that, this is one of the best puzzle games that you can play, bar none, this generation. And coming in at number 4 is Uncharted Golden Abyss. Now, when I first started playing Golden Abyss, I was not quite sure about it. There were a lot of touch controls that I didn't really care for too much, but as the game went on, I just looked past some of that stuff. Most of the touch controls are optional, first of all, but the game is so grand in scope. This is, without a doubt, the best looking Vita game you can get. This game looks better, in my opinion, except for some character models. It looks much better than Uncharted 1 on the PS3. I mean, the visuals in this game just blew me away till the very end of the game. Like, it just never let up with these breathtaking vistas that just look out for miles on end. But the best part is the gameplay matches it. It's a perfect blend of platforming, puzzle solving, and third-person shooting. If you're looking for a good action game on the Vita, look no further than Uncharted Golden Abyss. Alright guys, so we're getting down to the top 3 now. These are the best of the best and my favorite games for the Vita. And coming in at number 3 is Persona 4 The Golden. Now, I struggled really hard not to put this at number 1 because Persona 4 is one of my favorite RPGs ever. But if it hadn't been for the fact that I played this game back in 2008 and was very familiar with the content of the game, the story and the characters, I would have put it higher on my list, believe me, but it's still very deserving of my number 3 spot. The game, if you've never played it before, this is a perfect entry into the series. You don't even have to play Persona 3 or anything, just dive into this, but the content that they added to this, it's really worthwhile for those of us that even played it back in 2008 on the PS2. Persona 4 is a definitive RPG. It's got one of my favorite stories in any role-playing game I've ever played. The character development in this game, the characters are some of my favorite characters in any RPG. I mean, it's really likable, it's crisp, it's vivid on the Vita with the visuals, the music is top-notch, one of the best soundtracks, once again, in any RPG I've played. I mean, everything about this game is like almost perfect. It's really, really good. I can't praise this enough, and anybody out there that's looking for a different RPG that's more about the social aspect of the story and the characters, more so than the actual RPG element, don't get me wrong, it's still prevalent in this game, definitely look into Persona 4 The Golden. Alright, and coming in at number 2 is a game that I had very high hopes for, and thankfully it delivered. This is definitely one of the best games I've played on the Vita, and that is Gravity Rush, also known as Gravity Days in Japan. Now, the best way I can tell you about this game is that you play as Kat, who has gravity controlling powers, and she can basically float around these grand cities that are just, they're so beautiful. It's got such a great saturation and color aspect to it. Every city that you visit in this game has a different color tone to it, and it just looks so amazing. And anybody out there that was addicted to like collecting items in Crackdown as you're traversing the cityscape, you'll absolutely love collecting the gems and stuff that are hidden throughout Gravity Days. But back to the gameplay mechanic here. You shift gravity and you can float all around these levels, and it's very disorienting at first, but once you get down the gravity aspect of lifting yourself up and flying upside down, and you know, that's the one way that you attack enemies in this game for the most part, is you fly towards them by controlling gravity. It's so satisfying. The game is very unique, it's very different. It's definitely one of the most fulfilling experiences that I've had on the Vita from start to finish, story-wise, gameplay-wise. It was over just in time, you know, it didn't go on for too long. I think there was just enough content in this game. Tons of missions, bonus missions, time trials. I mean, it's got RPG elements in there where you can level up and increase your abilities. I mean, this game is a must-own for anybody that has a PlayStation Vita. Don't pass it up. Alright guys, and coming in at my number 1 spot for my favorite PlayStation Vita game of 2012, I don't have a box to hold up, so that will give you a hint that this is a downloadable title. and that is one of my biggest surprises of the year. It's also available on the PlayStation 3, but that game is Sound Shapes. Wow. What can I say about Sound Shapes? It's like the feeling that I had the very first time I played Super Mario World, or Little Big Planet, or Klonoa, or Sonic 2. I just got that overwhelming joy of playing an amazing platformer for the first time. And what's so great about Sound Shapes is it's so simple. You simply jump. There's really not much else to it, except for sometimes you can get like other abilities where you can fly in a spaceship or something, but you play as this little blob, no story to it. You play as a little blob and you jump throughout these levels that they have artwork done from different artists, and there's music from different artists like deadmau5 and Beck and other people that are famous that I never really listened to before the game, but as you platform through these levels, the music interacts on a scale of, say, like Res on the PlayStation 2. So the best way to think of this game is think Little Big Planet paired with the visuals and music element of Res. I mean, it's something really special, and the best part is it takes what Little Big Planet did for the community aspect, where people can create levels and share them online, and you can play tons of these levels, so it has this endless replayability from user-created levels, and man, it's quite a really enjoyable platformer, and I can't recommend it enough. It's when I first started playing it, I just had like a smile on my face because I was just so happy to be playing this game. I mean, the visuals, the music, the simplicity of it was just, it's perfect. It's a perfect platformer that, if you have a Vita, guys, my god, please download Sound Shapes. It's without a doubt my favorite surprise hit of the year for the PlayStation Vita. Well, guys, there you go. Those are my favorite games for the Vita. I did play many other games. I had a couple of other games here on my Vita that didn't make my top 10, but I will definitely give them an honorable mention down below in the comments. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. I hope if you have a Vita, or if you plan on picking up a Vita, I hope this video was helpful. As always, guys, thanks for watching.